Like just think all the time. Oh my gosh. You're fine. And just like you took over. Can you call me yes? Yes. So that's like everybody.
You're not Tim.
I'm not Tim. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Would it be okay if I got you today? Yeah.
I'll get.
Like, who's up?
You're up.
Yeah, I am.
But then I'll get.
We're gonna cruise through a couple announcements. Just to give you guys kind of a heads up of what we're gonna do today. We're going to do some announcements. We're gonna hear from Heather Johnson on some just kind of things to look for. I know there's been a lot of, I think even though there's no changes to the settlement statement, I think that even people have been doing this a long time, like someone moved our cheese and we're not sure what to think about it. And so she's gonna give just some like good reminders of things to watch for on that. And then we're gonna actually do things just in a little bit different order. We're gonna quickly grab lunch because of delivery time that it's gonna come, and then we're gonna jump right into our CE. Sound fair? All right. Okay. Okay, bucket fills. Who's got a bucket to fill?
Keep that one.
Seriously,
It says right before that.
one of my favorites of all time. Hey, anybody do something good for you this week? You want to share?
I don't know if this would go to Jesse or Tim and Justin, but Jesse and I have been going consistently to yoga. And we got those two to go with us.
Thank you for all four of you.
Going in tomorrow morning.
Yes, tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. if anyone wants to go.
I love you so much, but I don't.
But not that much.
I know I said to Kaylee, I'm like, oh, I would vomit. She says you really wouldn't. I said, oh,
You won't. Where is that?
Oh, look, that's good though.
6 a.m.
6 a.m. 25th Street hot yoga. You're invited.
Any takers?
I gotta get to work today, so this is where we don't make eye contact with people.
They have a shower there.
Oh, 5. Okay, anybody else? Bucket fills.
I have 2. Oh, sorry.
No,
You
go,
wanna go.
go.
So I have 2. So Ken helped give me the words to stick up for myself yesterday. So
Whoop, whoop.
like that.
Yay.
And also my husband Jason, I don't know if you guys have met him yet, but he is like just really plugging in,
Yes,
hitting
he
the ground
is.
running. And so that's just, I know he's my husband, but still, I think it's pretty awesome.
I think it's awesome you filled your husband's bucket. Why don't we fill our own bucket now?
He was
You do
super
that.
engaged in the Ignite that I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then scripts ready to hit it.
Love it.
I'm gonna fill Rusty's bucket. I've been in like a plateau of just trying to get my crap together, and now for 5 to thrive at 25. So I'm getting my.
You can do it. Hey, I was gonna ask you today because I haven't seen your list yet.
I just forgot. to hit
Big
send.
thanks to Lauren, by the way. So if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, at the end of every year, and I 1000% ripped this off from Rachel Hollis, but then I just wanted to do it my own way. That's weird. I know. But every year she does a last 90 days challenge, and she has 5 specific things that she has you do. I decided, you know what, we're all on this unique journey of ours. And so if anybody's interested, I create 5 habits that I want to take into the new year to get me ready to thrive in 2025, and it all rhymes, so it felt good. But even my 12-year-old is doing it. And so if you're interested or want to know more about it, it's free, it's open to anybody. It's really just me having a little accountability group that makes it easier for me to stay on track when I'm helping to inspire other people to stay on track. So if you're interested, let me know. Any other bucket fills?
I actually got a couple.
You better talk fast, friend.
Okay, I'll flex for that. Since I sit up front, I get to witness Bradley and Mark constantly helping people, and just their willingness to help and serve is phenomenal and awesome. And with that being said, Heather's here and her team at Amicus, they crush it. And to be completely honest, my transactions aren't standard or normal, and they're constantly right in the trenches with me, working through things, and so it's super appreciated.
Love it.
So yeah.
Bucket fills.
Yeah.
One last one.
One last one.
Christy's doing amazing with the walkathon. So thank you. That's awesome.
Huge Philip Christie's bucket for sure.
Yeah.
If anybody doesn't know what we're talking about, there's a walkathon going on right now. We're raising funds for Amber Amarillo, who is Fabian's wife. She has triple negative stage 3B breast cancer, and we are helping to raise some funds. If you're not participating in the walkathon, go and click on my link and pledge to mine because I want to win some of the prizes. Hey, you know what? I was the first one that asked, guys. I was the first one that asked.
I've got the podium. I will say what I want.
Just kidding.
I've reached my pledge, right? I've reached the volume of the pledge.
Now we're gonna raise it. We're gonna raise the bar.
Raise my bar.
Raise the bar.
My link to share.
Nope.
Hey, anything else? Bucket fills.
Yep. Kaylee, she asked what my favorite dessert was and she made it for me today. So none of
Aw.
you suckers get any of this. It's all mine. Nope.
Best.
You've already had. These are the best. She literally made my favorites.
That's amazing.
Game's the best.
Okay, anyone else? A couple things coming up. If you want to come to Bites and Insights on October 23rd at 2:30, give that little QR code a scanny scan. Today we have tech training for websites. Come learn how to customize your website today at 1:30. Is that my car?
No,
It's in the upper
green.
block.
Go to the other.
Oh, okay, I'm like, if that's mine.
I'm gonna go knock on there.
Tuesday at 5 o'clock is make and receive offers with Corey and negotiate the deal with Rhonda. So you get the bird dinner dynamic duo on Tuesday. Again, remember, Ignite is open to anyone. So you don't have to be a new agent to come. If you're like, oh man, Corey and Rhonda, they're doing something pretty cool and you want to check it out, come and see them. Wednesday is our pumpkin patch. Yay, big, huge shout out. Lauren has been having sleepless nights getting this all planned. So thank you for that. So that's Wednesday. She's got a little thing she wants to say about it. Thursday is Ignite session 5. It's our very last session. It's with Wade and I. Get to the close and plan your future. Some of my favorite topics, right? Closing, and then what do we do with the money to plan our future? So that's Thursday at 5. Again, anybody's welcome. Friday's compliance with Ken. We're going to do NARVEX best practice, contract best practices, and then Monday is contracts and a DocuSign workshop. Have things changed in the contract? Yes. Is this class updated to reflect that? Also, yes. And if you're having problems with, or actually, if you're just not using DocuSign and you're just doing it old school, come in and learn how to use it because it's actually pretty dang slick. We're gonna do a wants and needs. I told Lauren to set a timer. So we're gonna go as fast as we can with our wants and needs. And then anything that doesn't get put up here that you still want featured in team meeting. Look, Steph's like, we only got 5 minutes, I'm ready. Anything you still want featured in our team meeting recap, if you don't get it on the board, send it to Lauren. Steph.
2-story in Syracuse. When I tell you it is super cute, it is so super cute. It's move-in ready and 4 bedrooms, 3.5 baths. The main floor is open. It's got a formal dining room. It is cute. It is so cute. $650. So cute.
So cute. Can't even hear it
So
enough.
Bring
It's
it
so
on,
cute.
guys.
Yeah.
I have a single level condo that we just listed, 55+ community up in North Ogden. If anybody's looking for, or knows anybody looking to retire up there, it's a top floor condo. We do have a stair lift. Yeah. Sorry, I don't come to these meetings.
I know. My tongue. I was like, hey,
Yeah,
Brigham, 55+ community.
yeah, up in North Ogden, top level condo, comes with a stair lift. If that's something that you would need, if stairs would be an issue. HOA has a pool, we're asking $255.
Ooh. Great price. Love it. Justin?
I have the opposite of Steph's.
It is not in fact super cute.
It is not super cute, but it is in Roy. It's a 4-bedroom, 1.5 bathroom, if you count the laundry sink to wash your hands from the toilet.
I do.
But it'd be a great little project house, 325.
Ooh.
I have my West Jordan house that is 5-bedroom, 3.5 1.5 bathroom, we just lowered it 10 grand. They're super motivated. West
This is
Jordan.
the ADU one?
Yeah, West Jordan.
Oh, West Jordan, not South Jordan.
It's at 625. That one is super cute. It would compare with Steph's super cuteness. And not her personally, her listening problems. And then I have a rental. I have a rental in the terrace. You look super professional today. 3-bedroom, 1 bathroom. Ready today, 1750.
Love it.
No, 1750, not K,
Oh.
just per month.
To buy it. You can just live there for 17.50
A little 1.75 in the. Yeah, you can stay there for a long time.
He's gonna calculate it out. He's got at least 10 years there.
That's it.
Okay, awesome. Who else?
About coming online probably early next week. It's 1,800 square feet, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, single level in Sandgate community. That's up in Ogden by the Walmart, 400 North. Oh yeah, very nice neighborhood, well priced, nice. Really nice house, fruit trees, wood pines, views of Snow Basin. Whatever.
What's the price on that one?
What's the price on that?
Is that a bring your own price? Ish?
$499.
$4.99. Awesome. Anyone else? In the back.
Anyone have Asia up and down?
I do.
We do as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That it?
Hey, hold on, Marcus has a $400,000 house in Weaver County Fairgrounds. Single family, 3 bed, 2
Marcos or
bath.
Marcus?
Huh?
Marcos or Marcus?
Marcus Green,
Okay.
3 bed, 2 bath, 2-car garage, turnkey,
Price?
$400K,
And I missed the area, sorry.
by Weaver County Fairgrounds.
Fairgrounds, Weaver County. Awesome. Denise Mueller and I have, honestly, it's a super awesome property. It's in Syracuse. You get to be Denise's just like in her cul-de-sac, which if you guys don't know Denise, like you're gonna want to move just to be her neighbor because she's freaking fun. But she has her neighbor's house we just listed. It's like 6,300 square feet. It is a rambler. The house is nice. Very like meticulously maintained. The guy was an HVAC contractor, so top of the line on all of that. But really where the gym, in my opinion, is it's got a beautiful pool area that was just redone. It's very nice. It's got almost a 3/4 acre lot. It also has a giant detached, so you have a 3rd car attached, and then you have a giant detached garage that also has a little powder room for the pool, so you can change and use the restroom in there. It's heated, it's got loft storage, the floors are finished, the house is just really meticulously maintained. It's got a lot of really cool features, including like surround sound. Everything is electronic, and you also have a very cool safe room that's like a little hidden safe behind the bookshelf that you can hide your guns and your cash and your grandma's jewels in, or you can even just hang out there. It's kind of a cool spot.
Where's this on?
So this is in Syracuse. If you know where the new Syracuse Temple is, actually just a good draw for some people. You can literally see it from the pool, so it's just right there in that neighborhood. Syracuse, it's listed at 1.5. I will tell you that there's not anything on the market that has all of the features. There's some that are maybe newer or more updated home, but they don't have the pool, they don't have the shop. It's a full brick house, full brick detached garage. Just honestly an amazing home if you've got somebody that's looking for that type of a situation. And we're gonna have a broker open on that on next Tuesday at 3:30 to 5:30. And I'm not as cool as Christy, and so I'm not gonna give away board twos. But I will have a prize if you come and see us, and there's gonna be food, and it honestly would be a cool spot if you guys need to get like some social content. The pool, the garage, all the things, it's gonna be a cool spot for that, you can record. And the same.
Can we
will be
come
open.
swimming like we could at Christie's?
I mean, I can ask him about it. I did make him keep the pool open, so I could keep the fountain going for the open house, but
We'll see.
yeah, I mean, I feel like you could. I'll talk to him. Okay, any other,
Time's up.
Bradley, really quick.
This is actually Blaine's.
Yeah, it's Blaine. It's not actually Marcus.
Oh, is he not
Shout out
Ben as
Alex.
Marcus?
Alex is just posing as Marcus, I
Oh,
guess.
I was thinking to myself,
That's
I didn't even know Marcus knew that he could zoom into team meeting. But go Marcus. And I also thought, I bet it's Marcus,
Oh,
but
yeah.
it's Blaine. Perfect.
Make more sense.
Lauren, this is your baby.
Oh, this is my baby. Pumpkin patch. If you guys are participating, please arrive between 3:30 and 4. It starts at 5. We're gonna be set up by 5 and ready to go. No questions asked. 10 by 10 pop-ups only. You all, if you're not bringing a pop-up, we're all gonna have a 10 by 10 space. It's mapped out. We're sticking to it. Children will likely be stopping by every single booth, so bring something to share, candy, a little handout. I don't care if you give out pencils or erasers. All agents and helpers plus ones will need a wristband to enter, so we will have our own table. If you're participating, you've got a lovely map. The drawing's ugly, don't mind me. But please just make sure that everybody comes and stops by our KW ticket booth. Will be well marketed. That's that.
Can we just say one quick thing? If you participated in the past, that's different. This is why we need your list. So if you have been, so at Green Acres, we had a separate entrance, so they really were forced to come find us. There's gonna be an outside area and then we're inside. So they have to have a wristband to get past here. So Lauren and Chris and Bradley, and I don't know, whoever else will volunteer their time are gonna be right here at a KW booth. So you need to tell your people to stop here and get their ticket, then they get to come see you.
Yes, we'll have our own ticket booth. It's opposite side of the main entrance or main ticket booth. So.
Yep. So they don't go to the main ticket booth. I'm gonna record a little video today just because it is different and send it out to my, just, you could do a quick little 30-second check-in. Any questions?
Questions, comments, concerns?
Okay, if so, call Lauren. KW Cares, I want to remind you guys, next Tuesday, the 15th, we're gonna have a watch party here in the office. It is from, is this actual 10:32 or is this central time? This is our time. Okay, so it's 10:30 to 1:30. We paid, the office paid to have it as a watch party. If you want to watch it on your own or get a recording of the content, you can scan this QR code and donate $30. As you guys know, with KW Cares, 100% of the donations go to our agents or families that are in need. Right now, they are doing a huge push for Hurricane Helene victims. And as you guys know, there's another hurricane slated to hit Florida soon, like right today, probably. So far, you guys, like, this is where I just am so freaking proud to be surrounded with the people that we are, because we have raised over $1 million just for hurricane victims. From the time they did a call to action on our leadership call and said, we need help. I was just thinking about this morning on our call, we were talking, I said, imagine if something like this hit our area and we have 250 agents, and imagine half of those were affected or lost their home or couldn't get the supplies they needed. That's a massive need. And this is on a huge scale. And so rest assured, the money goes directly to KW Care, directly to KW Cares, directly to the people. They're taking generators. You probably likely got an email to sign up for this as well. For the $30 donation to have it walk on your own is that supplies generator fuel for about 1 week for a family of 4. If you do a $99 donation, it supplies new shoes and clothes for someone who lost everything. So, and not like, obviously not wardrobe, but like clothes to put on and shoes to put on their body. So I really am going to encourage you to donate next week. This is in place of team meeting. You can come anytime between 12:30 or between 10:30 and 1:30 and watch it. We are gonna incorporate our Q4 contest, so donations that we've raised that day, we're gonna keep track of, and you're gonna get some yardage on what that looks like. So I'm just gonna really encourage you to think about the people in need, and I know there's a lot. It feels like every time I turn around, there's something in need or somebody's had something hard happening. And whatever we can do to help take care of our own, any little bit counts. And also Brandy iCard does have family boots on the ground in the area. Like she and I sat in my office and we're chatting all last week. And so if you're just like, I have to do something right now today that I know is going to make an impact right now today, you can call Brandy. She's got some family that has been going to restaurants, food stores, getting food and taking it to places that they can't get out to get food. And we're like talking like hiking it in and clean water and like formula, pre-made formula, that kind of stuff. You don't think about if you don't have clean water to make a formula bottle, how do you feed your baby if that's what they're eating? So just things like that. And if nothing else, I'm just gonna say like sharing it, praying for the people that are there, sending good vibes, whatever you do to connect with a higher power, like let's just do that.
So Brandy, and we also have we have Angie in our office.
Yeah,
too,
I was
that
just
has
gonna say
family.
Yeah, Angie's parents had some massive trees come down and destroy their house too. So yeah, I mean, it's just the devastation and pretty, I mean, it's unimaginable. We had a conversation last night with my kids about what we can do to help raise some funds. And it's just, as we're talking about it, I'm just like, oh, what do you even do, you know? When your house is filled with mud, you got no food. This is the lineup for KW Cares. This is, so if you see somebody, you can take a little picture of this. If you see somebody that's coming, make sure you're there during that time. These are all central time. So make sure that you note that, which means this actually starts at 10, not 11, right? I mean, 10, not 10:30. It's 10, not 10:30, guys. 10 a.m. is when it starts. 10 to 1. Okay. Broker moment.
I want to talk about this because it's a big change that some of us are gonna have some hardship on. Just because it's different, we love change, right? Okay, so you no longer renew on realms. No longer, exactly. I can tell you why. I can tell you why after reading through all this. Okay, so what we learned at UAR, one of the things we learned during the legal panel is, and I believe this has to do with outside companies owning properties and doing business in the United States. Everyone who's got a company owns a company, which you all probably have an LLC or you're incorporated, all right? Forgot to do it, I know. We all did. So you have to register on a certain website. I completely forgot what the website is because it's not important anymore.
We'll send it out.
We'll find it and send it out. And you have to do this by January 1st or you get a huge fine.
$500 a day fine. What? Whoa, I'm pretty sure it's what my account told me.
You have to register on this website that you are a US citizen with your business.
So yeah.
We all need
Anybody
this.
that has a business.
Now, with that being said, this is why they switched this. So now, something that they have in red bold is your 15th day of your renewal month. You have to have all your CE completed. No more, oh crap, my license is at the end of the month. I gotta hurry do my CE. You have to have it done by the 15th of your renewal month. So I have an idea. Let's just get it done super early.
Yeah, good thing we got CE today.
Yep, and once this is just a screenshot of the divisions page. But there are links to take you to your 12-hour course, your mandatory course, right? If you haven't already completed them. Now, with this happening, because we're all used to just logging into Realms, double checking our CE and hit renew, right? That's what we have done for forever. It's no longer like that. There is a link down towards the bottom that actually go here for the instructions. When you click that link, which really I think takes you to the lower part of the page, because it's down there as well. You have to go through the steps of adding your LLC and all of that. And I truly believe it's in conjunction with this new rule that they haven't told anyone, right, that you have to have your company registered. So this is going to help do part of it.
I mean, it makes sense.
It's clear as mud, huh?
Why? Yeah.
Why?
Because the division said so.
Because the division says so, and to be completely honest, our division website has always been kind of clunky anyway. So I'm assuming this new part might be cooler, but kind of hoping, right? Just know who renews this month?
Oh, you don't know. I know.
3 of you. Okay, so as you guys go through, let us know how it goes.
Yeah, good luck.
No, because it's one of those things until you experience it, you won't know, but you'll probably be an expert after doing it the first time. Now, I renewed, my renewal's not done till July of next year. So it's gonna be a long time. I'm gonna completely forget the new rule by then. So I want those of you who renew in the next month or two, this month and the next month, to kind of report back on how it went. Because this is the division as well.
So, could we go?
Yeah,
here
then
now?
that's by January.
You what?
We do that. all.
Yeah, we'll get you that link to do. I did write it down, and I saved it somewhere, I just don't remember what it is, and I completely forgot it. You know, because you're at UAR and you're taking notes of all this different other great legal stuff, who forgets a website page when you're looking.
Your taxes, they likely sent you a notice about this. I got one in January of this year from my accountant. Most accountants are offering to do it for you for a charge of about $200 to $500. I've heard everywhere between for that amount, and it takes about
Yours is 175,
75.
but I
Well,
heard,
I talked to said it takes less than 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So.
you're
That's my
entering your
comment.
name,
Whatever you wanna do.
your social security number, and your company's EIN number is really what it is. You're just quantifying to the system that you are American.
We'll send that out in our TV.
Yeah, for sure. So anyway, feel free to ask me questions, and if you're getting ready to renew, I'm happy to walk through it with you so we can learn it together if you'd like. Okay, but the biggest part I need to remind you guys is get your CE done early. Okay, you guys are the, like that saying, preaching to the choir. You guys are the choir because you're here learning and you're engaged. It's those agents who are out doing whatever right now that are going to be like, hey, I can't renew, Realms isn't taking it. Right, that's going to be the issues. So spread the word. Yes.
So I really always like the 12-hour new agent course. If you take it not as a new agent, then none of it counts as CE, which is a huge bummer. Do you think the board would consider making something similar? So it would just be really nice. All that in one day.
I would have to argue that it does count as CE.
doesn't.
You just,
It's geared to new agents.
it is geared towards new agents. However, if I take the same CE class 12 times, it's which I do. Because, you know, we come to these meetings.
But you
and we
don't
have-
continue to get credit for it.
No, you do, but it just shows that you've already, it's only until you used up that credit. If that makes sense, then it renews. It'll just say that you did it twice.
Right, but you don't, if you take a 3-hour class, and you take it today and you take it again 3 months from now, if it's in the same renewal cycle, it will show up on your realms. You do not get credit. I've had agents
Well,
call me about
correct,
this
if it's
exact.
within your, if it's, it'll give you, it'll log that you did it, but it's not gonna
Yeah.
give you credit towards your renewal.
So in answer
You
to your
can't use the
question,
same
no.
class within the same renewal period. But if you use it for one period, you can use it for the next. Does that make sense? If it's in the next renewal cycle.
And that's why I went to Mark and made sure that this one was different from the last one. So.
Good.
Sorry, we're out of time. So any other questions, see Sean after.
Okay.
Just make sure you do all your calls in a TCPA friendly compliant way. We're just never gonna stop saying it. Every time. Just do it or get the consequences. I lost Heather. Will you find her? She probably has a.
Ezra's volunteering to entertain us.
He's like, "Brr, brr, brr."
I'm in.
Can you tell everybody, yeah?
Yeah,
That's what she thought, yeah.
I'm doing CE early.
How about YOLO?
What? YOLO. I'm so old that. I know, I need a new picture too. Okay.
Yeah, that's it. Are you ready for me?
Absolutely. Want me to pass it out?
Yes, let me just see.
Awesome.
I know, paper.
If you guys haven't met Heather Johnson before, this is my friend Heather. She's an amazing escrow officer for Amicus. And I think most of you have probably met Ronnie too. Here, I'll you. There you go. That one. How's that the other? These are two different ones, right?
Yep, two different
Okay.
ones.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Hi, guys.
Well,
Good to see you. So there's Ryan. The class, did they already tell you here that the CE will start just right after? Okay, cool.
They're different.
Yes, they are different. There was a reason for these two things. I thought, okay, so many of you have, you see settlement statements, you go over them, you know what you're looking for. But these two, well, one is just the format of one of the settlement statements that we send out. You'll notice that there's two columns. So we'd like to send out whenever you have a buyer side of a transaction and we're sending you a settlement statement. If we just sent you the buyer's side, you wouldn't actually see your commission. And so you get asked, oh, then that's like, that's big. We want to make sure we've got the commission right. And so we like to send out this double-sided, it's called a master combined settlement statement. That way, then you can see both sides, you can see the commission, and you can confirm that. So we love to send out the settlement statements as ahead of time as possible. On a sales side, it's as soon as we've got everything together and we know that the closing's coming up. That's when we will send out the settlement statement for you to review. And we send it out so that you can confirm commissions and then also, if there's any kind of, let's see, if there was any, negotiations, making sure like the right seller paid closing costs are showing, or there was seller paid closing costs, or maybe there was repairs that were being done. And sometimes it's possible where we get missed on sending an invoice and maybe we didn't get that on there. So we like to do as much back and forth with you before we get to a closing so that when we're at the closing, it's smooth sailing and everybody knows what's there and that the things that are important in that transaction are being taken care of. So that's the reason for this double-sided. I just wanted you to see that because some people will say, oh, I have the buyer, like, why are you sending me this form that has both sides? But that's the reason for it, just so that you can see, because the commission will only show up on the seller side of the transaction, because that's typically where that's being paid. Typically, that's kind of changed a little bit.
Yeah.
Yes,
Sorry, I was just gonna say, 'cause if it's on the rep sheet, I'm sure the buyer would want to see that it's being covered.
correct.
The
Yes,
buyer still won't see the seller side though when they're there.
no. So this would not be
They
the
never
form that we would go over in closing if we were closing buyer.
Right.
It's just for you so that you can see the commissions that are being paid from the seller side. If you're handling a buyer, that would be the reason for this. Otherwise, if you're handling the seller side, we would send you one that looks like the other one, which is just a sale side. And that would have the commissions and what the seller was paying for in commissions.
And you do that all,
Mhm. Yes,
you don't get any agents whining about that,
about,
about showing both sides of the transaction.
so that's the only way for you to confirm your commissions.
Well, you can show me my side, you don't have to show me their side.
You would have to see the side that has the commissions on it, which would include the sales side. That's just you as an agent. It's not a settlement statement that we would go over in closing.
That is on their closing disclosure too, though, right? Anyway, if
commission.
you have a buyer.
Sometimes, not
Sometimes,
every time.
depends on the lender.
Depends on the lender. Yeah, you've got it.
That's just, to me, that's just confusing. Well, I think that as a buyer, if it's on the Rep C, it should show. So for example, closing costs show up on there. So why wouldn't the commissions? Because they both are on the Rep C.
So the closing cost, when there's a seller paid closing cost, you mean? So there is a line item where it's a debit credit, so that those act like a debit credit with the, it debits the seller and credits the buyer. So a seller paid closing cost would go in that line,
Right, so but a commission doesn't?
but a commission does not, because it's actually being, well, up until recently, it was always paid by the seller.
Now there sometimes can be a commission that's paid by the buyer.
Or maybe a little bit on both.
A little bit on both, right? So anything that's being paid from the seller in the transaction for commission you'd have to be able to see it on a combined settlement statement. That would be the only way for you to see and confirm what that commission is. Unless the lender has put it on the closing.
Yeah, and I kind of agree, if I was representing the seller, I wouldn't want the buyer to see my numbers.
And the buyer doesn't, it's
see
not
the
going to the buyer.
Agent.
To the buyer agent.
I don't necessarily want to take it to see anything that's not something that has to do with me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like the sellers.
Just so you guys are aware, when they made those
Yeah.
changes.
Yeah.
Was
that
it
3-4 years ago now?
Yes.
Longer than that.
7 years ago. 8.
That's not
Seems like
required.
it's just-
7.
Those
It's not
changes,
required to go to the buyer.
those changes were so there's complete transparency on both sides.
Correct.
That's why it's there.
Right.
So when you say, I don't wanna see it, just
Well,
don't look at it.
no, I don't.
You are responsible
Not
for
well.
the accuracy of it. There's been a couple of instances in the last month, this is why I asked Heather to come teach or talk about this. Where someone, we went to closing on one of the side, on this side was our side or not our side. They didn't have enough to clear it. There wasn't enough proceeds.
Right.
They were short. Okay, that's one incident. You never want to be caught with that. And then there was another one that just recently happened where, I don't know what it was.
And they're providing
In
it
Ken's
in
area. But me and Ken had to work through the issue and I can't remember what it is.
Can I just say one other quick thing? So, and this is, the title company they worked with prior to Amicus was also did this exact same thing. If you guys notice though, this isn't a full financial disclosure of the seller's side. It literally shows the things that affect your buyer. County taxes, you want to make sure those are prorated appropriately. If there's
Oh, I
any,
see.
if there's any commissions, it's only showing the commission to the selling, to the side. And then it also shows the home warranty.
That goes to the buyer.
Yep, so it only is showing, it's not a full accounting on the
On their
seller's
side.
side. That does, just so you guys know, that comes as a full piece to both sides when it does close
Yeah.
from both title companies, and it's on file in your command file as well, just. FYI. But this only shows the pieces that affect the buyer.
Sorry about that rabbit hole.
No, that's okay. It totally, that's a valid question on that.
I think one other just quick thing to note, like, because I feel like a lot of times we get this and agents just only look at their commission. And one thing at the
That was
beginning that you may
My
have,
whole next thing.
oh,
yeah.
perfect.
Yeah.
Nope, you go.
Know about looking at more than just
Yeah.
that. Yes. So that's the reason for this next one. So this is just the seller side of the transaction. So if you look at the one, the top of it, the sales price is $450. The reason for this is kind of one that there was a lot of learning, and learning experience that happened with this file. And, with agents and title companies and everybody. But this particular file, and you'll probably be experiencing this a lot, it's kind of come up quite a bit, where there's a lot of people that took advantage of all of the modifications that they were able to do through COVID, forbearances and things like that. There's a lot of people that don't necessarily understand how all of that translates to when they sell a house. And so
We've actually added that to our like seller conversation to be asking about the forbearances, and those are never done. And I'm actually in a short sell right now because one came up, so.
And this one is actually in a short sell as well, yeah. And so what happened, is that they had done, this particular seller had, they were going through divorce, so you can imagine at the end, they're both just like, we just want out of this.
Yeah.
But there really wasn't a conversation about a modification or a forbearance being done. And so when the title commitment came out, it showed that there was actually not only a first, a second, but it showed a third, which is that modified loan. And so when we put together the numbers, so that wasn't taken into account when the original net sheet, when you're going through and doing numbers. And so when the settlement statement came out, everybody was pretty busy. And so it was sent out and some people said, yep, settlement statement looks great, because commissions looked good. Everything else, so if you look at the bottom line on this, it shows from seller, $108,000. And so that was a tough one to swallow when we went, it obviously, no seller is planning to come in with $108,000.
Especially if they're having a conversation.
And, anyway, there was, yeah, so looking at the bottom line is one of the things to note when you're looking at a settlement statement. And then also, I mean, it was quickly noticed that there was not only a first, a second, and a third that were being required to be paid off. And so, and a lot of times we try to, as a title I mean, you know, no one is perfect. We all try to definitely toe that line, and we want to be as perfect as possible. So we want to give as much heads up on anything that we notice, because it may not be everything that you would notice in looking at a title commitment. And so we would send out saying, you know, our initial email to you, letting you know, these are the things that we're seeing on the title commitment. And so, we would note that there would be a first, a second, and a third. And our email on this one got hung up in a dot loop. And I don't think it was received like when we sent it out. So anyway, there was a lot of things that happened. This is now in a short sale and it's closing and it's all good. But it was a definite learning experience for looking at settlement statements, knowing what you're seeing, knowing the questions to ask. I mean, love it that it's in your, like, the conversations with sellers in asking whether or not they, you know, they happen to be doing a modification or took advantage of a forbearance during COVID. There were so many people that did, and it was great. It just, they don't realize what that means at the end of the day when they're going to sell a house.
And Utah Housing had a program that I didn't even know about until I was talking to some people that had something kind of similar. They had a Utah Housing loan, and during 2020, they were able to basically, like, they didn't make a payment for, I think, almost 12 months. And Utah Housing kept the loan in good standing, but that's all added onto the back of the loan with interest. So for them, what they thought they owed is drastically different than what they actually did. Now, Utah Housing, in Utah Housing's opinion, they did the right thing because they got those people the ability to stay in their home with the same mortgage.
It was all for
Right,
that. to
but it's
keep you in
all
your
for that.
home.
You're in your home, your mortgage didn't go up, you didn't get behind. But the reality is that was 12 months worth of payments that collected additional interest and fines and fees and got out of it. And that's a Utah Housing program, so.
And I will say on this particular one, I mean, I've been doing this for 24 years and I've never seen, this was Utah Housing. I have never seen where they have done a forbearance on $143,000. I've seen forbearances done 30, 40, 50, 60, 70,000, but almost $150,000 like added to the end of the loan was, I mean,
A lot.
can you, like,
For a
Yeah.
$450,000 house especially.
rent, yeah. So, yeah, that modification, that forbearance was definitely done to just keep them in the home and get them in a payment that they could afford, but they, you know, then tack that on, so when they go to sell, that's just an important piece of information. So there's a lot, so those are the things that when we send out, for us, when we send a settlement statement out and we're saying, hey, I mean, we see the numbers too, but we want to make sure that we're communicating, I love it if an agent will say, oh, no, there was this, it causes the conversation or to look at the contract, or maybe there was an addendum that we didn't receive, or maybe there was a repair that got done at the very last minute and we need to make sure that gets added. You know, any of those things. And so our back and forth with you, on the settlement statement before the closing is like, that's where, let's iron it all out, and then we're set, and we're ready, and there's no surprises.
And with the forbearance, the clients forget that they.
Yeah, these people, when we
No
talked to them
idea.
about it, they were like, oh,
We did
yeah,
do that.
I guess I do kind of remember. I mean, it was like no clue that had any bearing.
And my client, when she had the same thing happen, she was like, I didn't even know they were putting it on the back. I'm like, I mean, they're gonna have to do something,
Right.
but yeah,
Right,
so it was minutes for
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah,
But we found out right at the very beginning.
which is to find that
Yeah.
out.
One other plug with your sellers, make sure you're doing a net sheet in advance with them. And then I always send it over with the preliminary offer, and Team Heather's great, like just I'll email them and be like, hey, can you send me, these are the terms of the offer, will you send it to me with these exact terms? There also, you can do it through the app, but I like it when you guys do it because it's very official and it just comes over. And then I have that. So when I'm looking at my numbers, I'm able to look at it and go, oh my gosh, like on this one, they were actually gonna get some money. But
Yeah.
I already know kind of what that net was, and I already figured that, so I do it. They see net sheets. Nobody should ever be walking into your closing surprised
Right.
on what their net is. They just shouldn't, right? Like they should not walk in and go, wait, what? I thought I was getting this. And I always want it to be a good surprise. And I'll literally say like, oh, good job. It's actually 3,000 higher than what we thought. Your payoff must have been lower. And I like to know why. Because sometimes I'm like, it's 3,000 more than we thought. Ooh, did I forget something? Did you get all the addendums? Did we get the closing costs on there, right? Like that's our job, is to make sure that we have a fiduciary duty to our client, right? And so if it's off by any significant amount, I want to know why. And I'll go back to my first net sheet I sent them, or my second when we have the offer or whatever it is, and go, oh, I can see the differences in the payoff. So the payoff was less than we had anticipated or whatever, right? Or, oh, we agreed to closing costs, which is what I put in this net sheet, and I didn't send you.
It's literally a part of our fiduciary duty.
100%.
Forget about that one. Check their money.
And we're happy to put those numbers to, if you're at any point in the transaction, just kind of wanting to make sure things are in line or, where things are at, we're more than happy to put this
I've had
together.
to revise this multiple times, because
Yeah.
like they're asking for additional money in lieu of repairs or whatever.
Yeah, and
And
you
I'm
want to
like,
make
hey,
sure
can you
bottom
add
line
this
is
in so
where
we
you're.
still look at it.
Yeah, so we're happy to do that at any point during the transaction and putting those numbers together. So just a couple little tidbits, little outside the ordinary. Most of the time your sellers are getting money back and things look good and the numbers are all right. But every once in a while, these are just kind of the little things that you get to learn from. And we all get to learn from,
surprise.
Yes, and luckily it was like everybody went to work really quick. The agent was awesome in this transaction and he took care of, he jumped on it and got this deal all put together. So nice. Anyway, any questions for me? That's just wanted to point a couple little things out, and if you need anything from us, we would love to help you. You'll see Ronnie around here too, right?
Yeah.
Everybody already knows Ronnie and yeah. Crazy. Okay.
So on the homeowner home, right? So let's say they go under contract at 450, but then throughout the transaction, it gets renegotiated to a different amount. But then someone misses updating, because I know we'll get RPRs, right, during due diligence, we'll see what the title terms is going to be, whether they're buying or selling.
Right.
But then it gets renegotiated. What's the best way to make sure that when we're doing this, when it's done renegotiation for the process, that fee is being charged off without would you be going to the app and double checking that way, or what would you suggest?
I would say we should be, whenever that changes, then we should be doing an amended PR that would send it out to show what that new amount would be.
So if we don't see that, if it's you or another title,
Let's
say we're working with the builder and that we're using their title, right? And we don't.
Yeah, and you're just wanting to confirm what that new amount is. Yeah.
The percentage off the purchase price.
Right, it's based off the purchase price, yeah. So if it goes up, and it only goes up in $10,000 increments. So if it's gone up more than 10, then it'll adjust a little bit. It's kind of minimal. If it, but if it
Oh, if
varies
it
a
changes
lot,
by 5,000, it's not.
it's not
make a
gonna
difference.
change the policy
that's good to know.
amount. Yeah, so you've got 10,000 increments is where that would actually adjust. Yeah. Yeah. But if you need it at any time, but that's usually for us, when we get a new addendum and it's changed, then we're updating the title commitment and then sending that back out. Yeah. All right.
Love it.
Thanks, guys.
we're gonna do a quick little, so we're gonna do, with C, we wanna make sure that you can get your food while it's hot. So we're gonna let Austin, right? We're gonna let Austin with Pro Media Company tell us a little bit about his company. And then I'm gonna have you guys do the thing that we do where we go in rows so that we can get started on our CE and keep everybody on time. Is that fair? Okay. Back row first. And Austin, take the stage.
Awesome. Perfect. All right. My name is Austin. I am one of the photographers and marketers for Pro Media Co. We've been here a few times. Some of you probably have seen me before, some of you not. I actually recognize a couple of you from the Ignite class that I actually helped with on Tuesday. It was actually, well, not this Tuesday, last Tuesday. And it was actually really, really fun. So honestly, I wouldn't mind really doing one of those again. Pretty great. We are a team that basically full service real estate media company that basically can do anything from photos, video to Matterport to drone to anything that you can think of. We're currently a team of 5 photographers, which means we could pretty much handle any load or any amount of people that need to kind of want to work with us. And we are currently trying to make sure that we are not scheduled any further out than like 2 or 3 days. So if anybody needs any kind of more, I need this done yesterday, we have those options too. Our goal is to make sure that you guys can be the best real estate agents you can be when marketing is the last thing you have to think about. And also that we market you in a way that next time you go into a listing presentation, that you win your next preferred clients. This is kind of a list, again, like what we talked about. We do photos, video, other things that we've done that I didn't quite mention before is things like lifestyle shoots. We do social media. We do kind of some basic websites. I know Keller Williams has websites for you guys, but if you guys ever needed a different microsite, we can provide those for you as well. We offer like 2D floor plans and also Twilights are a big thing. We've been doing a lot of those lately. Somehow it's growing in popularity. So, but enough to talk about our services, more just kind of wanting to go into kind of like the quality that you can expect when you work with us. This is the exact kind of quality that you can work with. We have the founder of the company, Lennon. He's trained pretty much everybody, almost pretty much by, his standards to create this kind of quality that you can come to expect from everybody. So you can expect the same amount of the same quality, the same kind of service, and the obviously the high quality that we provide. There's also the quality of video that you can expect that comes from what we do. Sometimes it plays with sound, sometimes it doesn't, but.
Might be playing it online. Maybe we just talked about.
Yeah. But one thing that we like to do differently with our videos, as you can see here, is that we like to have agents be in front of the camera because we've realized that as agents get in front of their listings, they have a lot more interaction with their community, with their sphere of influence, and that they have better outreach. This is another kind of service that we do. It's usually kind of tagged along with our Instagram reels, where we kind of do like a nice little walk through home. We kind of dub these ones Ryan Serhant reels, where again we have the agent participate in the video, but we generally just follow along with them in the house and they kind of point to like the best features of the home. This is also another one of our services that's becoming more popular as we go along.
Did you just show that they did that in a green space? They weren't actually at the house?
No, these are all home locations. Yeah, this one doesn't play automatically for some whatever reason. This is just kind of like a call out to some of the Keller Williams agents that we worked with previously. This one is actually Julie Hopkins in Keller Williams in Park City.
She's in the top 3 women.
So I'm actually the photographer that goes and does pretty much all of her listings. So every time that she calls us, I'm the one that usually is the one that responds and goes out and does it for her because she likes the kind of consistency that we offer. So. We also offer like 2D floor plans, 3D floor plans, 3-dimensional 2D floor plans, which are really, really nice. Some people have been asking for lately, so it's always been kind of interesting.
Austin, with the 3D floor plans.
Yes.
Command's got a new feature in your websites where you can upload these to your landing pages or anywhere you want in Command. So this is really efficient if you're doing a brand new property and you have one of these 3D tours, you can just add it to your landing page.
Yeah, and our backend will help you guys with that. Like if you guys need the link, if you guys need the whole thing to upload to command, just let us know and we'll work with you to get that uploaded to your systems. So another thing that we started doing recently that we're starting to push a little more because we kind of ironed out some of the early, testing phases, is basically social media. Or basically, if you have a social media presence already and you're just thinking, I need some help expanding this. I just don't quite either have the time or I don't feel like I have the creativity or the ideas to kind of push my social media to the next level. That's what we're here for. We're here to try to kind of help people increase their social media presence and branding by basically taking on a lot of responsibility so that you don't have to. We offer different kind of options, or I mean, pretty much anything that you can think of for a social media video. We do sit down talking heads, we do standing outside, kind of similar talking heads, but we also do lifestyle, where basically if you want to talk about anything cool in the community that's going on, like pumpkin patch or something, or some big event going on around like Layton or Ogden, we can do a video for you guys. And then usually we have a pretty quick turnaround time of a few days to about 10 days. And then you can basically have those videos ready to post. But of course, like I was talking before, teamwork makes the dream work. We have specific things that we try to do with the social media that try to help you guys. One is that we do strategy calls. They're about 1 hour per month. And those help plan content for the 8 videos that we do. Oh, 8 to 12 videos that we do for you. We do scripting help if you need it. We can film 8 to 12 videos in one 4-hour session. So in an entire month, you would spend 5 hours and then we take care of the rest. And then we also have options to help you with posting and also handle the timing. Our booking system for everything besides the social media, except for like the reels and stuff, but the heavier social media stuff, it could all be booked online. And all of that is super easy. Anybody can do it. Your assistants can do it if they need to. And it's just super effortless. This is our contact. How many of you guys already have photographers you work with? Should we see a couple people? Yeah. We understand. We want to respect your guys' relationships with the photographers you already have. If you have good photographers, we get that. But at the same time, you can save us in here. You can save that number in for as a backup in case your photographer's busy, they're out of town, they go on vacation, whatever reason it might be that you might need a photographer and your current one is not available. We're a very solid backup.
And we'll send out this info in our team meeting recap as well.
Anybody want to take a picture of this? This is the code that you can use if you want to try us out for your first time. We give $300 off for your first order. And so if you guys go with like a basic package with us with like 25 photos and 6 drone photos to give us a try on like our quality, and if we really live up to what we talk about, it's pretty much free. So
Can you use the $300 off on the video package? Like the social media, whatever you got up there, that's like shoot 4 to 8, 12.
oh, so I would say I don't think you can do it for that. These are for this, the $300 offer for listing properties. So, but that is a great question. But also, if you guys have any more questions about the social media stuff, I will be here for a while. So feel free to come to me and ask questions. Or if you have any questions about listings or wanting to try us out, still, I'll be here. So thank you guys.
Love it. That's awesome. Thank you.
Ready.
Okay, this row is gonna go get food. Ryan is gonna come up and get started. And just so you guys know, I did okay with him. He was okay with you getting food because I didn't want to be rude. And he said, yeah.
I noticed that too.
So, yeah,
And we have a bite each just to make sure there's appointments for you guys.
so far, we're not there.
Because it smells so delicious. And thank you, Austin, for a yummy lunch. And we were like, we should make sure it's not.
Yeah, exactly. We call it at my house.
I
told me that, I was like, I
Oh, look. Oh, I didn't change it, so I'm not TJ Rand. TJ's in our. No, I think that's the, oh, I think I sent it. I fixed it on my computer and then sent it out.
Okay.
So yeah,
You-
not,
They're different, so.
yeah, no, it's the same. So TJ is another CE teacher at our office, in our home office. So, he just didn't want to drive all the way. Yeah, yeah. So,
This is not TJ.
no, I am Ryan, and I see some familiar faces. We did CE a couple of different times that I've come up with.
Two different, yeah.
Yeah. So, and I don't remember if last time we did title insurance red flags part one.
We did.
Did we?
Mhm.
Okay, cool. So this one is just kind of a continuation. It's really, this one is kind of a good lesson about what to look for when you get your PR. So Heather talked a lot about settlement statements and things to look for on your settlement statements. This one is really going to go through the kinds of things that you'll see on your title commitment. And so we'll talk a little bit about them and how they affect title and how we clear them and which ones are worse and which ones are less bad. So, if you've done a transaction, you've gotten a commitment from a title company before. And most of the time, assuming we probably don't read them all the way through. I will speak for most of my clients. Most of my clients don't read them all the way through. We should. But we also look at it and give you an email and we're like, hey, heads up, here's the 4 things you really need to look at. And usually these are all gonna show up in whatever email you're getting from your title company with your title report. Because they're gonna say, hey, here's your title report. It looks like John Smith owns the home and he's got a mortgage. Because his name is John Smith, there's also 6 judgments that could be his. We need to get his social and clear it, things like that. So they're just items that we call things we need to clear or get payoffs on. So clearing them for us is getting John Smith's social and date of birth, looking on the court system and seeing if the judgment that's against this John Smith is this John Smith. And usually we can clear those with names and socials. If you have a really, really, really common name like John Smith, you may end up having to have your person sign an affidavit that says there's no real identifying information in the court system for who this guy is other than a name, but I promise it's not me. So we'll go through and talk a little bit about them. Have you guys dealt with bankruptcies at all in your transactions?
Yes.
Yep. What's been your experience with bankruptcies? Have you had them on a buyer or a seller? Both. On a buyer. So,
seller.
yeah. Technically, a bankruptcy doesn't necessarily prohibit a buyer from buying a property. They're just going to have court approval because the court's managing their finances for them. The one thing that I sometimes will run into with a bankruptcy that can be a problem and get in your way is the fact that it has to be discharged and closed. In a borrower's mind, in a seller's mind, I went through bankruptcy, I made all my payments. The bankruptcy court said, you are discharged from your debt. I no longer have that debt. I'm debt free. We can now move forward. There is an additional step before title companies will insure it. That is the actual closure of the bankruptcy. So the courts have to finish out all of their disbursements and get everything all wrapped up on their end and then actually close their case. So there is kind of this weird limbo period in between discharge and closure that, in all honesty, is worse than trying to do one while they're actively in bankruptcy.
Oh,
Because if let's say they got discharged last month, trustees are notoriously slow. They're like, hey, I'll get to it when I get to it. I've seen discharges take a year plus to get closed. So if your client contacts you and is like, I was discharged last month and we get it and we go under contract, and then the title company gets their title report and says, hey, there's a discharge bankruptcy, but it's not closed. We need it closed. You're stuck either waiting for the trustee to come around and do the paperwork and finally close it. The only other option is to go back into the bankruptcy and reopen the bankruptcy and ask the court for approval to sell the house, which can open a whole can of worms because then that can allow those creditors to then try and reassert a claim and generally every time I've had one of those, they go back to their bankruptcy attorney and the bankruptcy attorney is like, don't be stupid. Don't reopen your bankruptcy. You just need to wait while they close this thing out. So that's it's kind of this like dead zone where you don't want to open it, but you also can't sell your house without court approval until it's actually fully closed. If we are selling during a bankruptcy, that's okay. We just have to do a settlement statement. And we actually, once you get your offer, we will put together a settlement statement and send over to the bankruptcy court and say, hey, here's exactly the terms of our transaction. Here's the commissions to be paid. And then the court will issue an order allowing us to sell the home and giving us the terms of how we can proceed. Can we pay commissions? How much those are supposed to be? Often people can
do a homestead exemption on some of the sale proceeds of the home. So generally it's $30,000 per person, so $60,000 for a married couple. So let's say you're getting a couple $100,000 out of your house, but your bankruptcy still has some money that you owe. The courts will say, you can give them their homestead money. You can give them that 60,000. Go ahead and put a line item on your settlement statement for their homestead funds. All of the rest of it comes to me. I'll take care of dispersing all of the funds. We'll make all of their creditors whole, and then eventually I'll disperse the rest to them. So it is totally possible to sell from within a bankruptcy. Harder once it's discharged, but not closed. Once it's closed, that bankruptcy is gone and we don't have to worry about it again. Although there can be residual issues that we'll talk about. Anybody have anything that they have had experience with a bankruptcy with Chapter 7 that they want to share?
If they are in Chapter 7 and they're the seller.
Mhm.
It will stop everything, so you might not even be able to until it gets. Like, it will stop it, so they don't even make a payment and. What am I trying to say on that?
That'll stop foreclosure?
Yes,
Yes, and often you see people use Chapter 7 as a means of delaying
Yes.
foreclosure. So if you're, and the foreclosing banks have to check and make sure someone's in bankruptcy. Literally, as soon as it's filed and the court accepts your filing, you're protected by the bankruptcy. So if you file bankruptcy the day before your trustee's sale is supposed to happen, the trustee is supposed to check the bankruptcy court that day and make sure that you're not protected by the bankruptcy, because they can't actually do the foreclosure if you filed for bankruptcy. That's not going to put off your foreclosure forever, because that bank is going to go in and say, hey, listen, I know that when people file bankruptcy, they get this stay where they're protected and none of us can really collect against them. I have an asset that I want to proceed and foreclose on. I would like relief from that automatic stay. And they'll do a petition for relief, and most of the time the court will grant it. So it might buy your person an extra 30 days, might buy them a little bit of window to maybe get the home on the market, find a buyer, go to the bank and say, hey, look, we've got a buyer, and buy themselves some time, maybe to do a short sale or actually sell it outright. But yeah, good point. Just as a side note, you guys know the difference between a 7 and a 13? Yes. Yeah. So a 7 is I can't do this anymore. I need help. I need you to wipe it all away. There are income requirements and stuff. And so if you make too much money, you can't do a 7. A Chapter 13 is a restructuring one. So they say, okay, we're going to take all of your creditors, we're going to put them into a pool. We're going to not allow them to charge you interest anymore, but we are going to make you pay a monthly payment, which we'll distribute out to your creditors to try and make them whole. It's just kind of a redistribution of your income. Similar to a Chapter 7, we need that thing discharged and closed. 13s can be a little bit different though, if it's not discharged, but we see, no, it says that if it's closed. But I have had luck with my underwriter when we say, hey, look, this one has been discharged. We can see the filing by the trustee saying that they filed their final report, but the court doesn't show it as closed yet. And I have gotten approval to move forward and sell in that situation. So a tiny little bit more flexibility on a Chapter 13 than you're going to get on Chapter 7. So speaking of bankruptcies, this actually ties in with bankruptcies a little bit. I think there's actually another slide about it. Judgments, when I first started in title 20 years ago, judgments were a lot more common on our title reports. It used to be that we would check the county records and we would check the court records, and any judgment that was on the court records, we would then show on the PR because that was considered part of the public record. And then they changed the laws on that and they said, okay, you going to court and suing someone and getting a judgment against them does not automatically tie that to the real estate that they own. So we started only looking for judgments that have been what we call abstracted or recorded with the county. So a lot of times RC Willey is a great example of this. They'll sue you when you stop paying for your furniture. They'll take you to court, they'll get a judgment, and then they'll take it and they'll file that judgment in the county and get it recorded. Recording a judgment attaches that judgment to any real estate you own in that county. So if you own 10 houses in Weaver County and they abstract it to Weaver County, your judgment is secured against all of those houses.
Oh, interesting. It's only county specific.
It's county specific, yep.
Okay.
So generally for RC Willie, they know where they delivered the furniture, they know that you live there, so generally they'll
Yeah.
put it in the right county. But if by some chance their attorney wants to get real aggressive and does a search in different counties and realizes you own multiple properties, they can attach it to all of them. All they have to do is file it again in that new one. They don't have to do anything extra with the courts. It's just recording a document with the county. And so they can take those judgments and extend them. They expire 8 years from the time that the court gave them the judgment. So if the court on January 1st of 2000 said, hey, you get a judgment, even if the creditor, I've seen some where the creditors take 6 months to find the abstract and move it to the property, they still only get 8 years from the time that the judgment was entered. It's not when they actually record it. So when we hit the 8-year mark, they just automatically go away. We don't, like I've had deals where we did a title search and told the listing agent, hey, there is a judgment against your seller. By now, honestly, the creditor has written this debt off. They're not looking for this debt and it will expire in 30 days. Just wait, give it 30 days before you list this. We'll check and make sure they didn't renew it, because creditors can go back into the courts and say, hey, I want another 8 years. And they refile that judgment, they get another 8 years. But if they don't, it just goes away and your guy doesn't have to pay for it anymore. You list the house and sell the house. Anybody have anything that had happened with judgments that they want to chime in on?
But this was like forever go back in short sale days, but we had a judgment that was filed against somebody that had a short sale too. So there was like short sale, all this stuff, and it came up basically right at the very end. And he was just kind of like, oh, I'm not paying it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do it. Like, I've done enough. We're not gonna do it. And so, a judgment and a tax lien, the agent and I both paid for. About like, we gotta get this done. We've been working on it way too long, so.
Yeah.
We ended up paying for it, but yeah, and it was something that had been recorded that popped up kind of last minute.
Also a judgment, they can wait to file it. Once they've got it, they can wait to file it because they know if that person's hurting for money, they may not get it immediately, but they wait sometimes 2 years before they file it.
That's true.
Be aware of
Yeah,
that. I don't know what their limitation is time-wise, but yeah, they don't have to file it immediately.
True. Yep. I don't know if there is a statute for how long. I think at any point during their 8 years, they can just say, hey, we want to move this over now to the county records and attach it to any real estate. And up on the top, judgments with state entities. So any municipality, West Valley City will go out, check people and say, hey, you have weeds, and do a fine against them for weeds. Those ones automatically attach. We don't have to worry about whether those were abstracted to the property or not. So we look for state tax liens and municipality and state judgments. I've seen a couple of judgments for people who had felonies who were ordered to pay restitution, that we've had to track down how to get the bill for their restitution so that we could pay it, because those ones we do consider to automatically attach to the property, whether they've moved it from the courts to the county or not. So if you have a judgment that has not expired, we either need a release of lien or a payoff. One thing that I have had luck with over the years too, with people when they're like, oh my gosh, that judgment's 5 years old, I haven't heard anything from them in 3 years, is I've told people, okay, call them up. Don't tell them that you're selling a house, because if they know you're selling a house, they're going to want your equity. Just call them up and say, hey, I want to make this go away. I pull a credit report and I see a judgment for me. What's it going to take to make this go away? I owe you, the judgment was 10 grand. Can I give you 500 bucks? For 500 bucks, will you make this go away? And a lot of times, because they've written that debt off already, the creditors are like, cool, that's 500 bucks. We didn't actually think we'd collect. And they'll take it and release their lien. They have less of a chance of doing that if I order the payoff for them and they see the request come from a title company. And I also won't negotiate that for your borrower. I won't call them up and say, hey, can you guys take $1,000 bucks? That's up to the borrower to do that. But sometimes I've had borrowers get them to go away, you know? So sometimes worth the phone call. Notices of interest. Everything else that we file against a property or that gets recorded against a property has a certain life to it. Judgments go away after 8 years. Deeds of trust are tied to mortgages, which people can provide, and we can say, hey, it got paid off. Notices of interest are like, feel like recording an interest on your property, I'm gonna do that. Doesn't mean that I have an interest. It doesn't mean it's a valid lien. But I can't. Like, I literally could record a notice of interest on anyone in here's property today. It would be a bad idea. Because as a property owner, we can go back to that person and say, hey, you filed an invalid lien, and there's a state statute that gives you a certain amount of time to remove it, or else you start paying penalties. Oh, but it's one of those documents that I don't have to have your signature for. I can just record it with my signature and say, I promise I have an interest in this property. So notices of interest can be problematic. I've seen them before for investment companies who are coming in and, you know, making those lowball offers with people, and they'll lock the property up with a contract that they're then trying to sell out to wholesalers. And while they do that, they record a notice of interest. And then they're really bad about releasing them. I had one where it had been a year or two, I can't remember. And the homeowner was like, I don't even remember who that is. And we finally called the guy up, and he was like, oh no, she's got to pay me to get me to release that notice of interest. And in her case, it just wasn't worth the fight. So I think she gave him $1,000 to release his notice of interest. But it's one of those things where I hate them, but they are sometimes something you have to deal with. So if there is a document, we will always try and get in touch with the person recording it, ask them what their interest is. If your seller really is like, no, that's full and I'm not paying anything, you could end up in court trying to fight to get it to be taken off the property. But there's not a quick and easy way necessarily to make it go away.
Can you repeat one thing that you, I think I heard? I want to make sure I heard correctly.
Yeah.
So let's say some random company files a notice of interest on your property. Let's say maybe you had like, you know, an insurance claim, and the company that did it filed a notice of interest, right?
Sure.
And then they take their sweet ass time removing it. How much time do they have before? Because did you say that they can get fined?
So there is a statute for an invalid lien, and you have to make sure that you're following the guidelines for and notifying them, right?
Okay.
It's a relatively short period of time. I want to say it's 10 days or 2 weeks.
Okay.
And then it starts accruing fines. I believe it starts at like 1,000. It's been a while since I've looked at the statute. So it is meant to discourage people from recording it when there really is no interest in the property.
Yeah.
But the other thing that it does is it should secure an interest for someone who actually does. So,
Yeah.
you know, if it's your friend and you went in together on a house, but he's on title and he's on the loan, and you don't want him to sell it and not pay you off, you could technically record a notice of interest that says, hey, we've got a written agreement that says that we're partners on this home, and I'm going to need to be paid off at closing.
Got it.
So it can be a valuable thing. It's just one of those that can also be a pain. This one, I did the slides. This would have been backed by bankruptcies. So one of the things that we run into sometimes are liens against your property that were included in a bankruptcy. So let's use that RC Willie example. You bought your house, you bought a whole bunch of new furniture, got laid off. You can't pay your house, you can't pay your furniture. RC Willie takes you to court, gets a judgment before you're at the point that you file any bankruptcy. They file it. Now with all of your debt and stuff, you talk to a bankruptcy attorney and you file bankruptcy. You include RC Willie. RC Willie is listed, so is your house, your cars, everything. You go ahead and finish out your whole bankruptcy and you pay off everybody, even if it's a 13. RC Willie got their money. At the end of that bankruptcy, once you've been discharged, that lien that was recorded prior to the bankruptcy still lives on your house. Bankruptcy does not absolve your house from responsibility to pay the debt. It absolves you personally from your responsibility. But assets can still carry that debt with them. So as long as they file all this, do all the right steps and abstract that and get it recorded against your property, it needs to be addressed either with your attorney when you're doing it. You can actually have a lien stripped through your bankruptcy. So you can say, hey, look, RC Willie wants a lien against my house, but you know, we're going to pay them off, or there's not enough equity in the house. So courts, will you guys tell them that their lien against my house goes away? But if they don't, we've had files where, years after bankruptcy, we're ready to sell. And RC Willie still has a judgment for $5,000. And if you call a savvy attorney for your creditor, they'll give you a payoff. You call RC Willie, they'll say, we understand that they did a bankruptcy and we're not collecting this lien against the person. We're pursuing our remedies against the house because it's attached to the house. And they actually are within their rights. We sometimes will call creditors, especially if it wasn't a big one like RC Willie, if it was just someone that sued someone. And we'll call their attorney and say, hey, these guys did a bankruptcy. You guys need to release your lien. And sometimes you'll get the attorney to do that. Even though they have a right to still pursue it, sometimes you can get them to just release it. But that is one that a lot of times we'll run into with sellers, where they're like, no, that was in my bankruptcy. I don't owe that money anymore. You're right, you don't. Your house does. It's a weird concept sometimes to wrap our heads around. Does that make sense? Any questions about that?
Does make sense. It actually kind of makes sense in the scheme of things too, because realistically, if they have an asset that could have paid the debt or what it was, I mean, as a business owner,
Mhm.
it is kind of crappy if it just gets completely
Yeah.
stopped, right?
Yep.
So like,
And
I
that-
actually understand that, but I think it makes sense.
And that's when we're talking bankruptcy law, that's the benefit of being a secured creditor. So if you're Citibank and you've got a $50,000 credit card and you're RC Willie and you have a $50,000 furniture loan that you then sue and turn into a $50,000 lien against a house, you now moved your debt from unsecured to secured. And unsecured creditors have very, very little say in bankruptcy. They generally get wiped out. Secured creditors have a lot more say, and that's why RC Willie does what they do. They make so much money financing furniture that they've got the art down. They know you sue the person, they're probably not going to show up to court, you get a default judgment, you record it in the county that they bought the house in, and at some point, you're probably going to get paid for it. So, mechanics liens. Mechanics liens also used to be a different beast when I started years and years ago, until they came up with the state construction registry. So, you guys familiar with the SCR at all? The state construction registry is how the state tried to kind of wrangle mechanics liens. Mechanics liens, you used to actually just file. So you would go to the county and say, hey, I did work on that house. And there was this, the state law has always been, you have 6 months from the completion of construction to file your mechanics lien. That's why in all of your settlements, when you're at the title company, they have that form that's an affidavit of debts and liens that says, I haven't had anybody do work in the last 6 months that I haven't paid. Well, the state wanted to kind of get control of that, and they wanted to be able to have timelines as far as when things were happening. So they have a state construction registry that any construction company in the state, whether they provide materials or services, will be super familiar with. They know that they have to file their notices when they're doing work, when they're providing materials. And then as things get finished, you file your notice of completion that says, hey, this project is done. And then all your contractors get up to 90 days to say, hey, I haven't yet been paid, and file their. So it's a lot more organized than it used to be. And then if you do file your, okay. So if they don't file a notice of completion, then you get 180 days to file your mechanics lien. So the notice of completion kind of shortens that window that you get to file your. And
I just want to make so as a contractor,
yeah,
in order for someone to do work on a place and or like for loads to deliver or working supply can be delivered, they first have to put a notice of interest against the property.
Yeah.
Before we can show up.
Yep.
Just be aware of that.
And they do that through the SCR. So
if we're not paid, then it turns into the mechanic.
exactly, yep. Your general will usually go to the state and file the notice. And it also includes things like some of your permission to actually do the work. And then it also, when you get your certificate of occupancy, it goes on there too. So they kind of keep this whole listing of what's been going on the property. And so those can be a problem if there was recent construction. So if you have a contractor or a client who does fix and flips, you're going to want to make sure that they're paying their people as they go, because SCR liens could cause them problems later. Yeah.
I had something come up about a week or two ago. I've never heard of before, so I had a buyer that they bought a house that was remodeled. And, we never thought of checking to see if there was any, permits
Mm.
pulled or anything.
Mhm.
So unbeknownst to us, there was a cease and desist put up all over the house. They went ahead and sold it, and I thought, you guys, this is a really good deal. And then she went to add on solar, and she couldn't, because the city had done a cease and desist. So now we've gotta go through and figure out, okay, how do we make sure that, you know, all these, what do you call them?
The permits.
Permits.
Inspections.
All these permits are cleared and everything, and she might have to go, we might have to go after the previous seller. Cause on the seller's disclosures, they just put, permits and they just put hired contractor. So they knew what they were doing, and so
Yeah,
it's a problem, but it's something that I have never, ever had anybody look into. It's the first time I've had it happen.
Yep.
I wish there was a way to see it when we pull title.
Yeah, and the cities, if they file on the SCR, we can see that. Or the city has to actually record it. West Valley, Sandy down in Salt Lake County often will. Depending on the situation. I had one where it was an investor, they're actually not, they're from Peru, I think. And that's part of how they're getting their visa, is that they're doing work here. And they had bought it in the name of their LLC and then started doing work themselves on the property. But the city said, hey, if you're an LLC, you're legally allowed to work on your own home, but an LLC can't work on its own home. So if you're an LLC, you need to have contractors, and you didn't file full permits, and it became a really big thing. The buyers on that one somehow found that the city had noticed them and said, hey, you got to go back and at times you'll have the city actually go back and require that you undo some of your work so that they can see and do their inspections. Yeah, I heard of one that had a garage that they had finished and turned into a living space. And the city was like, we didn't do a four-way inspection. So we need to inspect all your electrical work and your insulation and so they actually had to cut out all the way around the garage to expose all the wiring so that they could let them do their inspection. So yeah, make sure your contractors are doing things right, filing the things they need to. It might cost you a little bit of extra money, it might cost your client a little bit extra money, but hopefully it will save you a lot of pain later on. Any other comments about mechanics needs? Okay, divorce decrees, those ones can be fun. Any thoughts on divorce decrees before we dig in? Have you guys had experiences with them?
There's so much.
Yeah, they're lots of fun.
Everybody's excited to talk to each other.
Yeah, yeah,
And in a good mood.
yeah, exactly. They're super happy to be where they are. Oops. So divorce decrees, we always want a copy of it. Generally, we can get a copy of it, because usually if you've gotten a divorce, you're selling that house relatively quickly. I wish that attorneys would think about a title company trying to understand the terms that they put in their divorce decree before they write the divorce decree. A lot of times we'll have them where it's like, what were you guys trying to accomplish here? And so if it's ambiguous, we'll always go to the parties and say, hey, help me understand what you guys meant by this. Did you guys both agree on this? If all the parties can come to an agreement, we can follow the terms of it and move forward. Sometimes we'll have it where it's ambiguous and one party says, no, this is what that means. And the other party says, this is what that means. And in that case, we say, hey, listen, you guys got to come to an agreement. It's not clear enough for me to follow. So either come to an agreement or go back to court and get a new modification done.
Can I ask a question?
Yep.
So let's say it is very clear.
Yeah.
It's very clear what it says.
Mhm.
But one or the other party is like, well, that was 10 years ago. I agreed to that and I don't agree to that anymore. Can you still close on the property based on the divorce decree and then they would have to just sue outside of the property? Or would that halt the property?
Yes.
kind of?
But,
Okay,
so let's say both parties are still on title.
right,
We need ex-husband or ex-wife who's being a pain to sign
right,
to get their name off of title.
okay.
So even though the court has ordered it and they're bound by it, we actually just had one where the guy was like, I'm not signing anything, I don't care.
Yeah,
And so they actually went back to the court and they actually got an order from the court to allow the court clerk to sign on behalf of him according to the terms of their divorce. And the order was really interesting. The order was like, it'll be listed with this agent at the price he deems appropriate. If they get an offer and he deems that it's a good offer and solid for both parties, the court will sign on the behalf of the ex-husband. I know, I was like, that's intense. Like, but yeah, so in extreme cases, the court can say, look, I know you don't want to sign, but this is what was decided, so I'm gonna sign for you.
and, sorry, one more just follow up
Yeah,
that. So let's say that, husband isn't, ex-husband, ex-wife, he was
Yeah.
removed from title, because that's what they stated it would go into her name. Removed from title, still on mortgage, but removed from title. And again, what if that same thing, he just goes, no, I disagree. But he doesn't have to sign anything. Could we technically force the sale and just close on it, and then he would have to sue her? Except for he filed a lis pendens on us.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if he filed a lis pendens, and a lis pendens is actually the next slide. A lis pendens isn't just something like a notice of interest where you can be like, hey, by the way, I have an interest. A lis pendens literally means there is pending litigation. So if he's like, I'm getting with my attorney and we're filing an amendment to the divorce today, he can go record a lis pendens, which will stop your sale.
Yeah, this happened like, I mean, obviously it went to this, but
Yeah.
prior to that, we already knew he was having heartburn with it. And I was like, well, we could just, I think we could have just forced the sell at that point based on the divorce decree. But then the day before closing, that little gem had his attorney sign
So much
this.
for an LLC. Yeah, so you can, I mean, as long as only one party is on title and we have a
Yeah.
divorce decree that says Joe gets $10,000 out of the sale of the home.
Okay.
Depending on your title company and underwriter approval,
Yeah.
you totally could.
Okay,
If it looks like it could be a big thing and the title company might get sued, you may have an underwriter who goes, we've been noticed by the guy that he's not okay with this. We need to proceed very carefully. So it kind of depends on, the risk and how you're. Did you raise your hand back there?
I was just gonna add, like, I'm going through this right now, I've got a situation happening, and the courts have said that they've just taken him completely off, but not willing to vacate the property. So the ex-wife can sign for everything, she gets to say everything, it's her job to do whatever I tell her to do.
Yeah.
And then she just signs it, and then if he doesn't vacate or help, work with me, then they'll have the sheriff come out and remove him.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
The court, that's the next step.
yep. Yeah, so.
She's getting a divorce.
Yeah, shocking, isn't it?
I don't understand, but
Yeah.
it's been pretty cut and dry to me. I've not had any questions about it. The courts really do say very clearly, and as long as you're willing to communicate with the attorney,
Yeah.
then it's a really.
Yep.
You just follow what they tell you to do and you go do it.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, absolutely. And if you have someone who just refuses to sign, the courts do have options. The courts actually can even do a quiet title action, which would strip him from the home and say he doesn't even own the home anymore. This house is now yours. We are quieting his interest in this property. He doesn't exist as an owner of the property. Those are pretty extreme. Usually they'll just say, hey, you got to sign for him. We want to see a signature for him. But yeah, either of those, we then can attach to the deed that the wife signs saying, hey, she signed this because of this attached. So great comment. Thank you. Did I see another hand somewhere else? I can't remember. Okay, probably. So lis pendens, again, is really just a way for an attorney to say, hey, don't sell that house. We got to sort some stuff out. It's literally something that there does have to be a pending litigation. There needs to be a court case. You can't just throw it on there and say, I'm thinking about suing someone. But it really will. It will freeze. We won't move forward if there's lis pendens. We'll have to sort things out. So.
and we did, by the way, it all worked out fine.
Yes. All right, deeds of trust. So we call them, it's a form of a security instrument. In Utah, it's our standard way to secure a mortgage against, a home loan against a property. Technically, a mortgage, when we say the word mortgage, it's actually a security instrument too. In other states, instead of signing a deed of trust, you sign a mortgage document. And so we call it a mortgage, we call it a mortgage payoff. It's in Utah, it's a deed of trust payoff, but it's the same thing. So it's just a security instrument. It's just how you attach your loan to the property. Utah, we use a deed of trust, which is a non-judicial foreclosure. So that means when you don't pay the bank doesn't have to sue you. They record their notice of default. 90 days later, they record a notice of trustee sale. 21 days later, they can sell your house. So that, if we see a deed of trust on the title, we're not generally too concerned. I did have it's not fun, but I did have an interesting one recently.
The not fun ones are the ones that we learn the most from.
And the one that I learned recently. Okay, so I've always, up until working for Fidelity, I've always worked for small companies. I was at small title companies my whole career until the last 5 years with Fidelity. And this one made me second guess wanting to work for a small title company. So who's familiar with Ryan?
Was that his last name? I don't know if that's.
No, Goodrich, Ryan Goodrich, thank you. Does that name ring a bell to anyone else? Synergy Title? Does that ring a bell?
Good.
Synergy Title.
Your ears should start ringing. Start sweating.
Oh.
He
Here,
was
right?
in Davis County.
Davis County. So Synergy Title, small title company. Ryan was the owner. I don't know how many employees he had. He is in jail right now, awaiting either a plea bargain or trial for lots and lots of counts of fraud. What happened? Well, one of many things that happened, and I can talk for sure about the one that I know happened because it's not a part of the lawsuit and I just had to deal with it. We got a listing from an agent. We pulled the title report and we sent him an email that said, hey, there's 2 deeds of trust because they've got a Utah housing first and second, super normal. There's this third one that's a modification. So when on an FHA loan, you fall behind, you call your lender, they work out terms with you and they're like, you know what, we'll put that $20,000 on the back of your loan, you can pay it off later. They do a silent mortgage, a silent deed of trust for that. No interest owed, no payments owed, but you have to pay it off later. And we were like, there's a modification deed of trust that's the prior owners. So we'll reach out to HUD because it was an FHA loan and we'll tell them to come and release their lien because they should have done that when it got paid off, when you bought the house. And we reached out to HUD and got an email back that said that's not paid off. And we were like, what do you mean it's not paid off? And so we went in to track the title company down who recorded it and found that it was Synergy Title. And so after doing a whole bunch of legwork, Synergy, when the seller before her sold the home, listed that guy's Utah housing first, Utah housing second, and modification payoff on his settlement statement. So they showed they were paying off all of these mortgages. When it came time to disperse, Utah housing got paid off, the modification did not. So it was like $15,000. And so it got a little interesting because what usually we think of as protecting us as consumers when we get closed on a title company is title insurance. So Ryan's company was underwritten by one of the little bit smaller title insurers as well, their attorney's title. And so I reached out to them and said, hey, here's the scenario. Your boy Ryan kept some money, you know, like.
Boy, we'll buy some properties with this.
Yeah, like we need to make this right for this lady who's trying to sell her house now. And they were like, well, we see a file in our system, but I don't see that we've ever issued an owner's policy for that property. And I was like, I don't freaking care if you issued an owner's policy. Ryan gave her a title commitment, which says, we promise we will do a title insurance policy. So whether you guys did it or not, it's kind of inconsequential. Like, get on your horse, let's go. We got to take care of this. And they were super slow and a pain in the butt to deal with. But eventually, like a week before closing, they finally sent over a letter saying, hey, we're paying it off. Here's a copy of the check. But for me, I was like, man, Fidelity can be a pain in the butt for me because we have so many layers of security. And like, if I cut a check to myself for $10, it gets flagged and I get in trouble. I can't do anything along those lines. We check the payees of all wires that go out and make sure they're a party to the file, like they have all of these extra layers of protection. That I was like, okay. All right, fine, it's good. I hate it because it means extra work for me, but it protects your clients. So the long and the short of that is make sure that you are working with good reputable title company and a good reputable escrow.
Just say one other little thing along those lines. 'Cause
Yeah.
This did affect, we had several people in our office like, hey, this is kind of weird, like, my client got something in the mail that their loan was never paid off. Like, we had several people that are probably part of this lawsuit.
Yeah.
Guys, when they're getting all the red flags, just stop working with that person. When we're calling you and saying to you, if one more commission check bounces with Synergy Title,
Yeah.
we are not going to accept them anymore. So when that happens, please stop working with those people, because that usually doesn't mean there's gonna be something good on the other side of that for your client. Particularly the fact that the money that's coming in for your commissions is directly either the seller's
trust
money
money.
or the buyer's money. It's trust money. It should never be in any other
Never
account
a
ever.
bounce back.
There should never be a bounced check. And so if things like that are happening, or if you're getting weird notices, like, we don't even need Spidey sense for this one, guys. We just need to like go, oh, sorry, we're buddies. We can't work together anymore.
Yep, these are really nice.
I hope not, buddy. When they stopped him, whoever's they.
When the state shut him
When
down.
the state shut him down for title, he actually started posing as a contractor and was taking deposits for work, even though he had no
Yeah.
intent to work, he wasn't a contractor.
And committed fraud on the contracting side of things too.
But
Yeah,
the guy is a total.
not a good person. Yeah, he really.
Why they didn't think
Well,
that's never gonna.
I think that probably started small, right? He thought it wasn't gonna catch up because he would wait a minute to pay yours. He'd rob from Peter to pay
Yeah.
Paul. So he'd wait a minute to pull this off, make cash offers on this property,
Yep.
sell these properties. Meanwhile, then he'd get money and pay, right? So it's just always on a delay.
Yep.
But at some point it
You gotta know
snowballs.
it's gonna catch you.
It's gonna catch up to you eventually,
Yeah.
for sure.
And this one happened right at the beginning of 21, where a lot of his stuff that's in this suit happened in 22 and beginning of 23. I think this was kind of the beginning of it, so.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, we were able to get the client taken care of, but it was kind of a pain in the butt. So just make sure, and also just for an extra layer of perspective, I reached out to the agent who helped that original seller who was working with Ryan at Synergy. And she said, yeah, he's in jail. Here's my client's phone number. You should probably report it to the Attorney General's office too. And I was like, okay, so at least you know. And so I reached out to her client, some rando guy being like, hey. And once I finally got him on the phone, we were talking about it and he was like, I had a feeling like when we were in settlement, like things felt weird. And then it took a long time to get us our money. And the thing that he said that struck me, which I hate, is he said, do you think my agent was in on it? And I was like, no, I don't think she was. As soon as I reached out to her, she said, no, he's in jail. Tell the Attorney General, like she did what she should.
Yeah.
But we all get guilty by association sometimes. So it's worth questioning and making sure the folks you're working with aren't skeezy.
I have to say, like, one of my pet peeves with agents is like when they have such a strong loyalty to vendors that they work with, that they no longer care about. Is this the best deal for my client?
For sure.
Is
Yeah.
this the best situation? I've had some of them, say, well, I use this lender, she's fighting cancer, I think it's the right thing to do. And I'm like, it's not her money.
Yeah.
Be serious to your buyer.
Yeah.
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 So anyways,
Yep.
that's.
I agree. Yep. So anyway, work with good people. Review your title commitment early. So when you get your title commitment, do look through it. If you're not familiar with your title commitment, every escrow officer will walk you through it. I don't care where they work. Ryan Goodrich would walk you through a title commitment. He really would. Whether or not he has good scruples. Otherwise, he would still walk you through a title commitment. It's what we do. It's part of our job. We'll do it for you. Make sure that, again, you're dealing with the right parties. That's for any kinds of judgments or liens or whatnot. And then, be ready. So if we see something on title let your people know, we're gonna need copies of divorce decrees. If they're really old, we'll need them. If they're recent, I can pull them off the courts. But anything that might show up, if your guy knows he has a notice of interest and it's for a contract with his cousin, give me a copy of that so that we can have everything that we need for our file. So. I think that's it. Any questions, concerns, comments?
I just have one other just quick thing along this. How often are you seeing solar liens not recorded? Like, I've seen a few that like solar never shows up. So when you said if you got this notice, because I've seen them where I'm like, oh crap, we're supposed to be paying off solar and it wasn't even showing up as a lien. And so we had to get, I mean, obviously we knew it was there, so we got the information from the solar company, but I was shocked that that wouldn't show up when it was financed. I mean, we were planning to pay it regardless.
Yeah.
But it wasn't showing up on the PR
I
or
haven't
anything.
seen a lot myself that
Okay,
have solar panels that don't have, they call it a UCC. It's a filing that attaches it.
yeah,
Solar companies are funny too, though. They don't think of a UCC as a lien. A lot of times when we're like, hey, we're refinancing, we need you to release that. They're like, it's not a lien. Like, we still need you to release it. You can refile it afterwards. I also learned a lesson on solar panels recently. I had a newer agent who got his second or third deal under contract. And we were like, hey, you have an addendum for solar. Here's the information for the solar company. Your buyer needs to contact the solar company. They need to apply. They're asking for a loan from the solar company. You got to get them in touch with the solar company. He's like, well, how much is the payment? I'm like, I don't know, but they've got to call the solar company. A week before closing, they still hadn't called the solar company. It takes 4 to 6 weeks to get solar transfer. So if you're working with a buyer who's going to take over the seller's lease, the day you're under contract, have them call the solar company and start working on that. The addendum for solar says buyer and seller agree to work diligently to get the solar lien transferred. So if you need to lean on the listing agent and say, let's do a 3-way call with my buyers and your sellers so everybody gets authorized and we all talk to the right parties, do that. Don't let time pass because we're still waiting. It was supposed to close 3 weeks ago and we're still waiting.
I was gonna say, here's my thoughts on solar. So I had a client that really loved the house, really couldn't give two rips if it had solar or not. And they were wanting us to assume it. So I countered back, I'm like, exclude it. And here's at the end of the day, they can't. Like, it's literally electrical panel.
Yeah.
It's all this stuff.
Uh-huh.
So, I'm sorry your client bought it, but
Yep.
you can take it if you want it.
Yeah. And the solar company won't come back and get it.
yeah.
They won't.
They paid it off.
Yeah.
You know, of course, so just think about that. You don't have to have your buyers.
Assuming it's probably the hardest option to go.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everything's negotiable.
Yeah.
Right? No. Any other comments or questions?
Was that good info?
Yeah.
I always bring the best stories. Thank you. Okay, thank you so much. The CE is going around, so if you didn't get signed in,
Yeah.
make sure you do it.
Did you sign, everyone sign in? Anyone
Everybody
not
gets signed in. Okay, and I think there is still quite a lot of food. So if you're still a little hungry in your tummy, you didn't, you're like, oh, I don't want to be the guy that takes a lot of food. Please go do it. 'Cause there's a lot, and also we all know like Chinese food's already digested in your system. You're already hungry again 45 minutes later. So okay, go eat it. Save you. You're amazing.
Thanks, Ryan.
So wrap up. Don't forget to register your LLCs. We're gonna send the link out.
Yes.
You haven't yet. You do need to do it by the 1st of the year.
Is that just LLCs or S corp as well?
I think it's any.
Any company. Okay. But in order to have an S corp, you have to have a company that you're affiliated with as S corp. So you're a company.
Right, I just didn't ask, when you said LLC, I was like, oh wait. I'm gonna go.
Yeah, your actual company is likely an LLC and you're just looking to check yourself. Like, is your business called? Right, like Stephanie. LLC?
No, it's not an LLC anymore, it's this. It's the right one. Well, you don't need to tell me, I'm just curious. No, but I wanna.
Also, if you want to know what and pen, there's a couple extras up here.
I want one of those coffee mugs.
Ooh,
No.
where's Ronnie?
Getting close to a touchdown. Oh, yeah.
I saw that.
Have you even done this yet? So sometimes. That way. Permanently in place there.
Takes like a lot of concentrated effort.
Jill will kick out right.
And then not even real. They just don't do that. And then once they get it.